This is a quick session report for Cuba Libra and my favourite coin game. And in this game I'll be playing as the 26th of July faction, and I'll be using the non-player charts for the syndicate, for the government and for the directorio. And I'll just do a quick snapshot at the end of each propaganda card, which is coming up straight away. So this is the situation at the end of the first propaganda card. Again, I'm playing the 26th of July faction, and we've got the directorio on 3 population and bases. The syndicate have 5 open casinos. I've got 7 opposition plus bases, and the government are at 8 support. So pretty low scoring there for everyone. No one's a real threat at the moment. Maybe the casino is edging ahead a little bit. Resource-wise, the casino and government are well placed with resources, but myself and the directorio are struggling for resources. In terms of the area control, government are pretty lean on the map at the moment, really having only got decent control of Las Villas, although they've got control in the Havana. They're pretty much in trouble elsewhere with the Havana not in their control, and me, the 26th of July, having control of Santiago de Cuba and Sierra Maestra, along with weak control in Oriente and Matanzas. So it's early in the game yet. The propaganda card came out quite early, so yeah, very early yet, but as usual with this game, interesting from the get-go. Back with the second propaganda card as soon as that comes up and is resolved. So this is the situation at the end of the second propaganda card. I've just completed the reset phase, and it was a close call there with the casino on 7 open casinos, 1 behind their threshold to win as they had plenty of resources. So just held off a syndicate victory there. The directorio are on 3 population and bases. The government are on 10 support, and I am on a whopping 17 opposition plus bases, largely helped by having passive opposition in Havana, giving me 6 opposition there. Resource wise, I'm struggling on 5 resources. The directorio are on 8, and the government are now on 41, and the casino have maxed out with the massive cash injections into their operations. So it was a close call there with the syndicate just being held out. Looking at the map itself, I've got a very strong presence down south in Santiago de Cuba, and then a minor presence up further north. And certainly the syndicate are the biggest threat for me at this point in the game, I think. So I'll be working this next round to sort of cut into them a little bit. My plan will be, I hope, to shift some of these forces up the island, possibly with some march moves, to make some inroads and also hurt the casinos as well. So that's the situation at the end of the second propaganda card. Very intriguing. First card up next turn for me is Radio Rebelde, which is one I probably will use as an event because I don't want someone to remove a base from a province. Then again, it's not a huge loss, I suppose, so I have to think about whether I use that as an event or as a ops plus special activity. Okay, we'll be back soon with the third propaganda card. Okay, it's the end of the third propaganda card, and the situation is that directorio are on 6 population plus bases. The syndicate has 8 open casinos and a full account. They only reach that casino threshold after the cash deposits phase, so I just staved off a victory by the syndicate by the skin of my teeth. And myself, I'm on 12 opposition plus bases, and the government are at 16 total support. So a near run thing with the syndicate, but the fight for Cuba continues. Looking at the map up to the third propaganda card, I've got a strong presence in Oriente, presence in Matanzas, and in Havana, where I'm facing significant government forces. And on that note, I evacuated Santiago de Cuba when I was hugely outnumbered by government forces there. So I'm really only holding control in Sierra Maestra, Oriente and Matanzas. The syndicate are well placed and are spread around the map, and are probably the biggest threat at the moment. And the government are struggling with resources too, which is good for me. So that's the situation after the third propaganda card. We'll be back after the next one. Okay, the final propaganda card has come up. The victory conditions weren't met in the victory phase, so we went to the completion of the support phase, and we have a result. And I unfortunately have to report that Batista and his government have retained control of Cuba, and they were closely followed in the game by the syndicate. So the government had a victory margin of 0, the syndicate had a margin of -1, the Directorio were -3, and the 26th of July, myself, Castro and Shea were on -6. So it was a surprise win to the government actually. I thought the syndicate were the bigger threat there, but after the support phase, their civic actions just turned the tide. So just looking at from the south of Cuba, you can have a look at how the forces were deployed, with the Directorio taking control of Sierra Maestra. I retained Oriente. Camagüey was Directorio. Las Villas was being fought over, but the government managed to get that one under their control. Matanzas was pretty much under my control most of the game. I moved forces out late in the game to try and make a dent in the opposition. In La Habana, it was government control, and the syndicate were pretty much firmly in control of most of the game, as was the case in Havana in the latter part of the game. And in Pinar del Rio, the syndicate had control there for most of the game as well, despite efforts by me to try and kick them out. So in the cities, Havana ended up in actually being the game decider, really, because their civic action just gave them active support there. So that's the situation. I haven't played this for some time, and I was a little bit rusty, and that's been reflected in the results. But yeah, a great coin game. So that's a victory to Batista and a loss to the 26th of July.